Yeah. My dad played baseball at Toledo. Yeah, so I was raised as a baseball player. But anyway, thanks everyone for being here today. Really appreciate you coming out. Obviously, we have a lot to play for this week. We have a trophy game versus Penn State. Opportunity to play a top 10 team on the road in a very hostile environment, which we know what that is there. And obviously, it's the next game, and it's the last regular season game, guaranteed opportunity for us, so it's huge. Last week's game, Saturday, was obviously a disappointment for all of us. We didn't play complimentary football for 60 minutes. We didn't finish. So we got back together today, reviewed the film, made the corrections, and we've turned the page and moved on. Our team knows how to have intentional focus and how to move on and how to improve and how to get better and how to own things. And so, that's what we're doing. Attitude was really, really good today, really focused. Just came off the field not too long ago. The meetings this morning were very good. And so, it's a new day for us. So in terms of attitude and focus, it's arrow up. We just have to do the required and unrequired work the rest of this week to prepare for the opportunity to play our best 60. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
I know you said new day for you guys, and obviously you talk consistently about maintaining the same preparation, but knowing this could be the last week of practice until the spring, and if you don't get the result you wanted, do you think there's any more sense of urgency from your guys at all?
Yeah, I believe there's a sense of urgency. There's a sense of urgency on the staff and also with the players. We always ask our players, and we always ask the staff to, raise the level of intensity every day, and that's happening.
What have you seen? Penn State's had an interesting season where they've had some ups and downs too. I'm wondering, when you look at them, what you see and sort of in terms of the matchup, a team that where you think your strengths might lie and what you see from them.
Yeah, well, they've continued to improve as the season's going on, and that's what well-coached teams do. James does a great job. I'm not sure I think he's in his 9th season there, and obviously he has a great program. And defensively, they settle down. They understand what Manny wants them to do and how they want them to do it, so they're playing faster. They're fitting the run better, and they're having fun. They're playing complementary football. They got a lot of really good players. They recruit very well, and so it's just a team that's continue to chop throughout the season and get better. That's what I see. And so, how do we match up? We'll see on Saturday. We'll see.
I was wondering about, you guys have struggled against the run recently, including last week, and then just with them, they have a pretty good run game. And what you see from them with the 2 freshman running backs that are both over 700, I think?
Yeah, they have a really good running game. So it's a huge emphasis, for us this week. Our run defense has struggled, and it's been progressively not up to par, as we go on. So there's things that we're going to have to do this week to try to rectify the situation in terms of how we practice, the looks that we get from our scout team, and then reteaching gap control, run fits, run keys with the D-line, linebackers, and also the secondary, which is going to be a challenge for us, but something that we have to do. We have to go back and reteach, everything to be able to fit the runs that we need to fit, and so that we can be consistent fitting the runs. One of the challenges that we've had is that we don't hit. The only day that we have contact is that we hit with passes on game day, and it's been like that for the last 3 weeks because we don't have enough guys to practice, and we don't have enough healthy bodies. And so, we're just trying to get guys to the game so that we have enough guys to be able to play in the game. And so it shows up that lack of contact and full speed contact and hitting shows up mostly in the run game, as opposed to obviously the passing game. And so, we're coming up with some ways to try to mitigate those circumstances and really, get back to being able to play the type of run defense that we need to play. So that's going to be our challenge. That's going to be our challenge this week. We have plenty of toughness. We have enough players to get it done. But we're going to have to adjust some of the ways we go about preparing the guys, still without contact, because we certainly can't afford to do that. But there's other things that we brainstormed that we feel like we can do to help ourselves, and so that's going to be a point of emphasis. And Penn State also has a very potent pass game as well. They can throw the ball, so those are all challenges, and that's what the preparation is for. So that's why we have to have intentional focus. We got to block out the noise. We don't have time to be distracted about anything.
2 questions for you, Mel. First, you mentioned about the not having enough bodies. Do you have any update on the 8 players' availability this week?
I don't have any updates.
And secondly, I noticed when you did your intro, you didn't mention the word bowl or bowl eligibility. Is that intentional, and why?
Well, I think we all know what's at stake, and the players know that as well. So I don't think there's any reason to continue to harp on that, because that's really talking about the end result. What we really need to focus on as a program, as with players and coaches, is what we need to do, every single day to prepare for that opportunity. And so I basically, when I'm talking to you about those, it basically is how I'm talking to the team. So because that's the mindset that we have. That to be very intentional with words we use in the messaging, what the players hear from me and hear from our staff. Semantic responsibility is important, and what comes out of my mouth and how I say it and why I say it it matters. And so our focus is on the process. We all know what's at stake in terms of bowl eligibility. I mean, that almost goes without saying.
You mentioned how the players are learning how to own some things, or you guys are starting to own some things. So what specifically is that? I know a lot did not go your way Saturday. So how do you hope that results in a better outcome for Saturday?
Yeah. So evaluation of performance. It's either going to be good enough or it's not. If it's good enough, you own that. I did a good job and understand why, and then move on. If it wasn't good enough, if it was not up to the standard, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams, whether it's a unit, a side of the ball, or it's an individual player, if it's not up to the standard, then you have to own that as well. Okay, evaluate it. Okay, now it was not good enough. There's no excuse. There's no explanation. What do we need to do to fix it? Fix it, and then move on to the next thing. And so that's ownership. That's not making excuses. Giving a reason why it didn't get done. Obviously, there's cause and effect, and so there's reasons why we get a certain outcome. And so obviously we have to understand those things, but we don't have to accept that as it's like unacceptable. So how do we fix it? So we understand it. We know why things happen. That's why we watch the film, and then we correct it. And I do understand why certain things happen on the field. I still don't accept it. I do understand why certain things take place, and so that takes a level of maturity to be able to do that. And our team, I'm confident that to a player we'll do that. It's easier to be accountable and take ownership when things are going well. But when the finger is possibly being pointed at you, individually, that's what it makes it more difficult to not, to take ownership and not pass the buck. So, but I'm really proud of our guys. For the most part, we've been accountable for and taking responsibility and own the things that we've done or didn't do, and we've been able to move forward.
Mel, you mentioned the fact that you haven't had enough healthy bodies for a few weeks now in practice. Relative to the guys that have been suspended and are missing, I know you don't have an update, but are you frustrated that there's been no resolution to this point? Did you expect by now to at least have some idea of where you could go with those guys?
Again, I don't have any new information, and so I don't, the expectation is, for me, is when I get more information, then we can regroup. That's the only expectation that I have, and so, that's what it is.
Mel, when you look at the special teams breakdowns, at this point of the season, do you think of doing things differently, doing them with different people, or just doing them better with the guys you've got?
Yeah, well, all of the above, and so we have a week, to fix some things, so some of the things that we can change, we will change, and so that's going to take, and some of it may be personnel, some of it may be, scheme-wise, and trying to figure out what is the best way, what are the best ways, to put ourselves in position with the guys that we have out there to be able to get the job done. So, we spend quite a bit of time with special teams. The previous 2 weeks before that game, special teams has been the difference for us in terms of the winning edge, and we did not get that edge on Saturday, but we certainly have to. We certainly need that phase of the game, we need that to be effective so we can play complementary football, and we didn't do that, so obviously, very, very disappointing. We also, talked, after the game, and we also talked, today, like when we talk about ownership, there's offense, defense, and special teams. We can point to all three phases where we didn't execute, and so obviously everyone looks at at the end of a game, and that we make a kick or not. How did it get to that point in the first place? It's also something that we have to own, and we talked about finishing, being able to finish games. We talked about it at halftime. It was going to be important for us to be able to go out in the second half, execute, raise our level of intensity, and play 60 minutes of complementary football. We were going to have to be able to do that. We knew that. We talked about that extensively at halftime, because if you look at, the 3 of those last 4 games that we won, going into this Indiana game, we had an opportunity to win a game in regulation at Wisconsin, didn't do it, and actually what led up to that opportunity, we're in control of the game in Illinois, and it ends up going all the way down, and so how did it get to that point? And obviously there was special teams was part of that, but also defensively and offensively, being able to punch it in or be able to get them stopped. How did it get to that point? And so we held on to win that game, and then obviously Rutgers game we're in control of that game, and ultimately we're scrambling to recover an onside kick at the end to secure the win. How did it get to that point? So finishing is something that we need to do. So someone asked me on Saturday, like, how are we going to get the team back from this loss or this? Like, well, they haven't gone anywhere. It's the same guys. It's the same team. the difference between winning and losing is very slim. And when you look back at those games I just talked about, I mean, if we don't do certain things, we don't win those games. And we had opportunities to win this past game, and this time it got to that point and we didn't get it done, and it's a loss. So you could call it collapse or whatever, but it's not. There's very little difference between being able to win and being able to lose a game with these teams. And you look across college football, and you look at the scores this past weekend, and you look at the matchups, and what's the difference? What is the difference? It's one play, here or there. And it's a very unforgiving business. It's a very unforgiving proposition. You don't make those plays, you don't prevent certain things from happening, okay, then you're going to lose. And that's what happens. So we regroup and then we move forward. It's not about getting the guys back that haven't gone anywhere and they're not going anywhere.
You said Saturday you were going to look at the game film and you might want to throw up.
What's that?
You said Saturday you look at the game film and you might want to throw up. How do you grasp, I know losses are hurt, but how do you grasp, put your arms around a game that you were dominating, statistically and everything, and now trying to move forward, having that slip away? I mean, that game could haunt you for 4 months.
So how do I
How do you move
personal,
forward?
as a head coach, as a coach?
As a coach, how do you move
Yeah,
forward?
well, I mean, it's not my first rodeo, and so you have to decide, what is the next right step to take, and what is going to be what's going to be helpful for the staff and for the team, to move forward. And it's standard over feelings, over emotion. So obviously, right after the game, emotions are high, and then watch the film, and very disappointed, angry about certain things. And then you watch it again, and you watch it again, and you start looking for solutions, okay, we got to fix this, we got to fix that. Maybe we have to move this guy here, and then you start looking for solutions, and then, we get together and then we present those to the players. So like I told the team, once we've gone over the corrections and we've looked at it and we've owned it, then have to move on. But that starts with me. And if I can't move forward and take the next right step, then the team will not. So that's what I have to do. I had a coach tell me that after the game, he said, I don't know if I've ever lost a game like that. And I was like, yeah, that was a tough one. But then I started to think back over my career, and I said, shoot, it's not the first time by any stretch of imagination. I went back and I showed them to the players this morning. I talked to them about it. I said, this has happened. This has happened. In terms of, needing to win a game to go to a bowl game, been a part of that. Been a part of some losses, two score leads halfway through the fourth quarter, losing a home game, been through that against a rival school, that's happened, but also finding a way to get to a bowl game and, ultimately playing well in that game and winning the game and using that as a springboard for the next season, which, can really help lay the foundation to have a great football team the next season. So, I've actually been through it, and so the experience, helps quite a bit to know how to handle situations. It's not like I haven't been through this before. And again, like I tell the players, I've never been anywhere where you weren't expected to win every game. So every year, every game is the most important thing in the world to everyone involved. And so, that's the profession that I'm in, and so that's what I do for a living. So, certainly I have to be able to handle these situations, the good and the bad.
And Mel, with obviously with the COVID year that everybody got, you had a lot of guys with remaining eligibility. I was wondering if those are discussions that are ongoing with some of those players, or is that something you revisit or visit at the end of the season? Although I know some guys have already made decisions.
Yeah, it's ongoing with some guys have made decisions, some guys have not. So, it's ongoing. I met with Saeed this early morning. Before we had practice, and I talked to him about roster management and the challenge and the complications of that. Signing dates were like about 30 days in, and we'll be playing. Then we'll have a week, and then we'll be on the road, and then we'll be having official visitors coming in. And recruiting has picked up for us significantly. Very strong response in recruiting. So we have to know, how many spots do we have, who's coming back, like what positions, and then we have to take injuries into account, as well, and all those things. So all that's going on right now because, this is like recruiting and signing players and making those decisions like it's happening, like those decisions they're happening right now as we're preparing, to play games. That's, you have that, it used to be the signing day was the first Wednesday in February, where there's an earlier one now, so that just kind of expedites everything, kind of just moves everything up. So, like right now, it's we're trying to figure out, who's going to be back, and we need to do it fairly quickly. Some things can't be rushed though, so we're going to have to be nimble and be able to adapt and adjust and always understand like we're dealing with young men here, and they're dealing with their careers and their lives, and so there's a business aspect to it, but there's also a human and a personal aspect to it in terms of guys' careers and playing in college versus not. So and then you also have the transfer portal where guys can they could decide to continue to play but maybe not here. So we'll just have to sort it out as we go.
Yeah, Mel, you mentioned earlier that you had to go 3 weeks without contact.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any periods like that last year where you had to take any week of practice without contact because of injuries? And have you had that happen in the past, or is this more significant than you've had in the past?
Yeah, there were some times where where we had certain days that we normally would hit. We normally have contact where we didn't have, but typically not the whole week, and certainly not 3 weeks in a row. And this is going to be week 4 for that, because we're not going to be putting the shoulder pads on and hitting. We just can't afford to do that. Have we had to do that in the past? Have I been a part of that? Yeah, I have, but mostly like in the NFL, that's, you got, when I was in the NFL, there was 16 games. You had 4 preseason games before you even thought about the playoffs, and so that's 20 games. And at some point in the season, you just can't physically do it. You can't hit, and so you're really relying on the experience, of the players to not need that and just be able to get the looks and walk through or jog through or whatever, even if you're going full speed, but to not have the hitting, you're relying on the experience of guys that, have done it before to still be able to prepare, and then when it's full speed on Sunday, be able to, play at a high level. So it's a little bit more challenging, in college, but that's what we're doing, and I feel confident that we'll be able to improve, especially with what we're going to do this week. So it's just the reality of the situation. Yes.
Coach, when Tom Izzo was up here earlier, he mentioned that he was by you earlier in the game, and in the early probably one of the first couple of kickoffs, there was something wrong in the alignment that may have led to that kickoff return. Mm-hmm. What ways can that be changed as you guys move forward towards Penn State?
Yeah, well, we actually fixed it during the game. 'Cause we had several kickoffs in the game, so we were able to fix it. But consistency and performance is how you become successful, and we're just very inconsistent. And so we fix it, and then we go 2-3 kickoffs, and then all of a sudden it pops up again, same return, same guys, and we don't do it right. So, we got to coach it better and we got to play better. And so we're going to look at, scheme, we're going to look at, personnel, we're going to look at all that. But, that's, has to be fixed. But, yeah, the game adjustments are, we have to have those things. We have to be able to identify what happened. We have eyes on everyone, so we know where the breakdowns are, and we go and address it, get it drawn up, and then go back out there, and the execution is the key. So we just didn't execute on two of those kickoff returns. Devastating.
When it comes to moving forward to Penn State, what ways defensively are you going to maybe adjust in order to be ready for the firepower that their offense has?
You talking about what's our game plan versus Penn State? Not the full game plan. Well, I can't even give you a partial game plan. I'm sorry, but we're going to be working diligently to put our guys in the best position, and that game plan unfolds throughout the week as well. I mean, we're looking at we're on Monday. We're working all the way up on like Friday on things. So it's still kind of early in our preparation, but I do appreciate the question. All right, thank you so much. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you next time. Go Green. Good, thank you.